Okay, let's have a word about Francis Ngannou and Tyson Fury. It's been a few days now and you may have seen some interviews with Tyson Fury, black eye, you may have seen Francis Ngannou's face completely unblemished, but herein lies the problem with boxing and herein lies the problem that everybody else is missing and something that I've thought for a long period of time. Some of my friends that are big boxing advocates have always been purists, they've always been big advocates of boxing's a really awesome art, like it's the skill of boxing and scoring points. And so what actually happened on this fight was you had two people that were massive brutes, and don't underestimate Francis Ngannou's experience on this. This guy is an absolute 270-pound animal that mullers people in a UFC cage fighting gym. And so you're not just putting anybody into a boxing ring that has no experience, you're putting an absolute animal in there. And so this is where the big problem comes. You've got the boxing purists that say Tyson Fury won, look at the points, look at the stats. Then you've got another guy, Francis Ngannou, who's never boxed before. That shouldn't really be a factor within this fight anyway. The guy's an absolute animal in the ring, but he's got a knock mark on his face. He knocked the guy down that's hardly ever been knocked down before. He's beaten arguably one of the greatest heavyweight fighters that's ever lived. 7 weeks before a title fight for the undisputed belt, and they're saying that he should have won. And so the real problem comes down to, for me, boxing itself. So whether you think he should have won or you shouldn't have won, how can you have a game, how can you have a sport where ultimately people are saying they should have won, they shouldn't have won? Now, you may say that this is the same for rugby, it's the same for football, it's the same for NFL because you've got human error and human decisions. But the real problem is that people aren't looking and underlying what boxing actually is. People think boxing is essentially two people, like bare knuckle fighting, waiting to knock the other person down. You can win a boxing match, of course, if you knock another person down. That's not the be all and end all. But what actually boxing is, and it's supposed to be, is a technique of point scoring system. And if you look at actually technical boxing in this fight, Tyson Fury won hands down. You look at the stats. So if it comes down to you, whether it's a pure boxing fight and you're looking at the stats and you're saying this person scored more, they hit them more, they landed more punches, then for you, Tyson Fury's in the winner. But if you want to look and say who knocked the other person down, who's the better fighter, then you're going to pick Francis Ngannou. And the truth of the matter is, if you actually stuck these two in an actual fight and just said, right, go ahead and fight, who's going to win? Ngannou's going to batter the shit out of him. He's an absolute savage. And you really think Tyson Fury could stand up to him against a real fight? So I think the problem is it comes conflated. And people think boxing is like a gladiatorial battle. And it's not supposed to be a gladiatorial battle. To some extent, there may be elements of just absolute brute force, heart, strength, passion. But that's not really what boxing's about. It's supposed to be a technical sport. Look at it at the Olympics where they have the helmets on and they're looking at point scoring. That's where it stems from. And then you move from that into the professional world. So this is what people need to consider. If you're a purist and you want to see a fight, then go watch cage fighting. But if you're not, you're a boxer and you want to actually see boxing, people landing more punches, maybe sometimes getting knocked down, maybe not, and then it being judged like an art, like I think they scored better, I think they scored better, then boxing's your game. So people need to stop getting the things out of kilter. Who won the fight? Tyson Fury won the fight from a boxing perspective. Who's the better fighter? Who's the harder, stronger, better warrior? Francis Ngannou, of course.